So Eric Adams appointed his brother as some sort of his brother is also a retired cop. They're both retired cops. And he
So aren't
hired
you
his
not
brother.
supposed to appoint your family members to things?
Well, we're talking about New York City Democrats, so they can do whatever they want. They can
That's
literally do
fair.
whatever they want. They can literally do whatever they want. So he appointed his brother as some sort of official, I forget the actual title, but he's also the head of security for Eric Adams. And to defend that decision, he literally said that the mayor of New York City is dealing with a lot of white supremacy. Now, just think about that for a second. In New York City, he is claiming that they have a problem with white supremacy. Now, I lived in New York City.
After
I lived
being
in
voted in.
after being voted in. So the victim narrative just will not stop with these people. It's absolutely insane.
The New York Post and the New York Daily News are reporting that you've appointed your brother, a fellow retired police officer, as a deputy commissioner for the NYPD. Is that true? And if so, doesn't that at least violate the spirit of the law in New York, which says public servants, friends, and family members should not benefit from their positions?
Well, we have something here in the city called Conflict of Interest Board. They do rulings and waivers. It's going through that process now. They would make the determination, and we have a great system here in the city. But let me be clear on this. My brother is qualified for the position. Number one, he will be in charge of my security, which is extremely important to me in a time when we see an increase in white supremacy and hate crimes. I have to take my security in a very serious way.
So there's a couple things wrong with this clip. First of all, Jake Taper, who, right, I think one of his producers was just hauled off for diddling kids or photos or whatever they were doing. So that's the first problem. Second thing is he approaches it very nicely because he is a Democrat. Well, we've heard these reports that you have hired your brother. Is that true? Did you really do that? Now, we all know that had Sliwa or, you know, some Republican or Andrew Giuliani would have won, they would not offer him that, we heard this happened. Would you like to clarify? And then the second thing is Eric Adams says, oh, well, in New York City, we have this conflict of interest board. Okay, so everything is completely corrupt all the way to the core in New York. So if you want to say that, the conflict of interest board, I mean, that's him saying, Democrats are going to investigate some Democrats, and I'm sure they are going to find out all the things that are wrong. Same thing with Cuomo, right? Like they got rid of Cuomo. They said it was sexual harassment. It obviously wasn't sexual harassment. It was because he made a whole bunch of the other Democrats look bad with his nursing home policy. But more so than that, I truly think they got rid of Cuomo because he at one point said, if you got the shot, you are protected and you don't have to worry about other people who didn't get the shot.
If you get a vaccine, you don't have to worry about unvaccinated people because you have the vaccine. I am vaccinated. You may not be vaccinated, but you don't pose a risk to me because I am vaccinated. So if you are vaccinated, what are you worrying about?
And that just made too much sense. So they had to get rid of him. So him saying that this conflict of interest board is going to somehow straighten it all out is absolute nonsense. And then he says, let me be clear. And that is political, Democrat doublespeak for I am about to muddy the waters completely and not answer the question at all. Let me be clear. And then it doesn't even matter what he says after that. Like Kamala Harris does this big time. Like, let me be clear. The cost of the costs are rising, and that's something that we're going to deal with. And you didn't actually say anything. And then last but not least, you just won the mayor's office. Apparently, legitimately. I'm not going to sit here and say that there's any fraud or anything going on there. There's a much deeper, let's say, root cause, as they like to say, as to why people would actually continue to vote for these Democrats and this weird brainwashing and stuff. That's that aside. You just won the mayor's office, and now you're claiming that New York City, of all places, one of the most left-wing, radical, anti-racist, woke places on the planet, is dealing with white supremacy. The same place that just painted Black Lives Matter across the entire streets in all 5 boroughs, one right in front of Trump Tower to spite Donald Trump. That's the same place that is now dealing with white supremacy after you were rightly elected mayor. It just doesn't add up at all. And anybody who watches this has to, I mean, how oblivious can you be? But of course, these are the same people who are still wearing a mask and listening to Tony Fauci and only taking left turns and walking into the doorways backwards and doing all sorts of stupid things that these people, that anybody on TV tells them to do.
You know, it likely does, because, I mean, this is a physical covering to prevent droplets and virus to get in. So if you have a physical covering with one layer, you put another layer on, it just makes common sense